Back to New Day right here on TV3, and it's time for our lifestyle segment, and we're going to be discussing when is the right time or the best time to leave home. Is it because you go to university? Is it because now you've come of age? Also, I know being a woman, most people tend to stay home until they're married because hey, that's what our tradition and that's what our culture usually pertains to. Well, of course, our lifestyle segment is brought to you by Lipton Tea, the world's #1 hot tea brand. And joining me for this discussion, I have with me Reverend Dr. Stephen Wengam, who's the lead pastor at Cedar Mountain Chapel, and also Hajia Fulera Idi from Department of Births and Deaths local government. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so let's just delve right in there. When would you say is the ideal time to leave home, especially in our culture in Ghana? I'll start with you.
Well, with our culture, normally it's when you're married or you're working, and then your parents, especially after school when you're working, it is expected that you have to wean yourself from your mother's kitchen. Then it's expected that you will leave home. And then the other dimension is that when it's expected you are matured spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, you are matured enough to make money and to make wise spending. And as of course, when you are married, because that is for us from the Christian point of view, Bible says that so a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife. So of course the Bible doesn't endorse you marrying and staying in your father's house. You understand? So you must be mature spiritually in the sense that you should be able to make decisions, manage your own spiritual development. Emotionally, are you able to handle your own emotions, handle people's anger, differences in opinion? Are you matured physically? Do you make money to pay the bills? You don't go and rent an apartment and at the end of the month every evening come to mommy's kitchen and come and chop and go. So ideally in our culture it's expected that when you are mature spiritually, physically, emotionally, then you are qualified and ready to leave home.
Okay. Hajia, when it comes to leaving home, how important is your financial stability in order for you to say that, okay, cool, I can move out now?
Thank you. Just as Reverend was saying, that the person has to be financially, spiritually sound enough to be on his or her own. You don't have to go and come back to the house for me to support you financially or even my kitchen. You think you are mature enough to leave, that is why you've left. But it's left to we, the parents, to know whether you can really live on your own before we let you go.
Okay, let me ask you, said that, if you've left, we don't have to come back to the kitchen. What if you just like your mother's cooking? Whether you're married or not, maybe you want to go back every now and then to go and chop your mother's food. Is that so wrong?
It should be occasional, not daily. That should be occasional. Once in a while you miss your mother's kitchen, fine, you are welcome. But it shouldn't be a habit. Even though I'm not staying with them, I have to go back for my supper. I have to go back weekend to shop in your mother's kitchen. It's wrong.
Okay. All right. Should parents support their children when their children come to them and say, I want to move out? Whether it's a financial support or, of course, with the emotional support and other support. Should parents support? Especially in our culture as we have it.
You have to, because it's an unavoidable stage of life. Every parent, you must psych yourself up. There's coming a time that your children will leave you. So you have to rehearse that. You have to accept that reality. And when the time is up, and your children, as to whether they are matured enough, sometimes they start agitating. They want to go. Look at the prodigal son. The father was very rich. The father could rent any apartment for him, but the guy wasn't mature emotionally and spiritually. Indeed, when he insisted and left, he went to mess up, and then he had to come back to his father's house. So if the time is up, if they are matured, parents should support them. Financially, I wouldn't say not too much, because if you say you are matured, you want to go out, as we say in our local balance, it's also as from Warrior to plenty. I mean, if you say that you want to be on your own, you should be able to pay the bills. So parents shouldn't spoil them by going to rent apartment for them, give them pocket money, unless maybe your place is too small and one has to move out and all that. But even that, you want to prepare your children to be able to face the realities of life. So yes, give them encouragement, Once a while, check on them. Keep an eye on them. You want to be sure your child, especially the early days of their moving out, they are linking up with the right people, they are taking the right decision, but it should be done sparingly. It should be done in a way that your child doesn't feel that you are remote controlling him or her. Normally they will resist. Yeah.
Okay, now culturally in our society, if a woman is not married, it's deemed like she should stay home until she's married. However, a lot of times some women are not married and yet they do go out and live on their own. When do you think it's okay? Is our society tends to frown upon it in some ways, but when is it okay for the woman before marriage to leave and be on her own?
It depends on how that child has been brought up, what she is doing, and how she's living. These factors should tell you whether she can be on her own. For instance, if you have a daughter who has a fiancé, let me put it this, she has a fiancé, they visit each other, you know them, you know in future they are going to get married, fine. And then she decides to go out before the marriage comes on. We are human beings, we could be tempted. The moment she leaves home and gets her own apartment, Kwesi knows her in this area, so he wants to pay her a visit. Amma is here, there's a party this weekend, Charlie, why don't you let us go? The boyfriend begins to get jealous. And then the relationship is going to split. So she has to start her life all afresh. So the best thing is she should stay, get married, and then go to stay, like Reverend said. The Bible says you leave your parents and then become one with why don't you wait till that time? Then you go out peacefully. I know my daughter is in her husband's room. Even if they have quarrels, it's natural, but not out of suspicion or jealousy, which ends up on what we all know. So left to me alone, she should be properly married. Not even friendship, relationship, and then because we are friends for long, I have to go out and I'll be free. No, stay, get fully married, and then move out.
Okay, I'm going to come to you, Reverend, on this, because a lot of times, then I guess the ideal age of marriage, there's a lot of women who are maybe in their 30s, 40s, 50s, they haven't been married. Yeah. So does that mean they should still be at home?
Let me quickly say this. Of course, it's always good to leave home with the blessing of your parents. Is the best. Now, culturally, yes, when the woman is married, but in reality, it cannot be so. I mean, if the lady is working, and sometimes undue parental interference, because parents must know once the child is growing beyond a certain age, you must begin to relate to them differently. But sometimes when you stay with your parents, I mean, even me, it was when I got married and I moved out of the house, and now your parents begin to see you as an adult. They begin to treat you with some level of respect, but so long as you live around them, they still see you as that small boy. Once a while, your mother forget and begin to shout on you, even when you're married. So if the lady is working and she's matured, and the parents are sure, and she's sure that she can handle certain things, of course, our culture will frown on that. As soon as you move out, the women start saying that a man has to. I know a lady, a man has a sugar daddy who has rented an apartment. You will deal with those things, but ignore them. So if she's capable and maybe she's working in a corporate world, she needs her own apartment, room, computer, and you live in your father's house, 2 bedrooms with your siblings. For that one, I don't think it's necessary. The lady can move out, except that the parents should help her in terms of counseling. She must understand that living on your own, like Hajia said, has challenges, negative perception. So you don't go and live your life in a way that will feed into those negative perceptions, which can affect your marriage and affect your image in society.
Okay, I want to focus on the men, because I feel like there's more pressure generally on the males of our society to be a man up, go out and get your own place. In that sense, where with women, it's like, okay, you're a woman, you can stay in as long as possible. Do you feel like those balances are unfair, or is pretty much what it should be? As a man, you do need to get out and move out and make your own as soon as possible. Hajia?
It depends on how your son is. If your son is about 30 years, 35, he's not gainfully employed, you don't see his left from right. But because you feel that he has to go, you are making a mistake, because it's going to come back to you. If he goes out there, you don't know whom he's meeting. Most of the time, you don't even know whom his friends are. You don't know whom he's going to share an apartment with. He hasn't finished where he wants to be. In the evening, he's out there in the street, or even he's with a friend. Oh, Charlie, what's the program on TV? You'll be peeping through the window, watching all these things. It won't be comfortable. So, as for the male child, he has to be fully employed or gainfully employed, be supportive. You should know how your son is before he leaves home. So he doesn't go out there to bring the problem to you. Meanwhile, you are struggling to live, you are struggling to take care of that dirty, mischievous boy whom you agreed or you consented with to go out to live on his own. So first of all, know the status of your son before he leaves home.
Okay, let's look at some people. A lot of times, if you are financially stable, I know there's some families, maybe they have 2 or 3 homes. So at a certain age, somebody moves in. Okay, the family says, well, you move into this house. Technically, they're living on their own. However, bills and finances wise, it's been paid still by mommy and daddy. You're living in your own home technically, but you didn't buy it, you don't pay mortgage, you maybe pay a few bills in there.
Yeah.
Does that then still mean that you have officially moved out, or technically you're still living in your parents' home?
In fact, technically, as long as your parents are paying the bills, as long as they're taking care of you, you've not yet matured, you will still, so they have to control your life. Then that one, if you are 30 and you are still living with your parents, then don't complain when they say come back home at 7 p.m., come at 10 p.m. Of course, like I said, the parents should also mature and realize that when my daughter is 2 years old, the way I control it should be different when she's 15 years, when she's 30 years, when she's 40 years. You understand? It's also important that we bring up our children to learn to become self-dependent gradually. Even though he may be 30 years and he's not gainfully employed, he may be doing some menial jobs. Begin to win, get them to take up responsibility. Even if you are living in the house, contribute to the housekeeping money. You don't say, because even if your parents can, even if you can afford, get them to learn how to contribute, to save money. It could be 1 city, it could be 2 cities, but then they are learning to respond. But some parents, they do everything, because I have the money. What if tomorrow you are not there? So the child moves out, he doesn't know how to give job money, he doesn't know how to pay bills, because the wife is working, he thinks the wife must work. That's what, there are many responsible men out there. So the parents, right from the word go, teach your male son, teach even your daughter how to be a helpmate to the husband. So let them learn how to give. So you see, for example, the child grows at a certain point. He says, okay, let's come into a deal. You want to wash my car? I'll pay you. I'll give you something small. Save the money. No, find out what are you using the money to do. Let us start from the word go. Then it becomes part of their DNA, their culture. Then when they are on their own, they don't struggle.
Okay, we're out of time, but I'll just give you some quick last words. You wanted to finish up what you're saying?
The children should never be out of parental guide.
No matter how old you are.
From birth till death. The parental guide should always be there. Once in a while, even though if they are on their own, you have to visit. Oh, Charlie, how? I mean, pretend to find that they might be telling you are poking your nose into my affairs, that you have to, because the end result will be back to the parents to solve. Okay. So the parental guide should never cease,
no matter how old you are. Okay, so lastly, the question which we started the program with, this segment with, is when is the right time to leave home? So this is, when is the right time to leave home? Just so
okay. The right time for me to leave home is when you are gainfully employed. You are socially okay. You are financially sound. Whereby, I will not say come out to take care of me, but take care of yourself, so that I don't continue taking care of you as if you were a baby. Okay? And if you are a woman, when you are married, I see you and your husband gainfully employed. You are all right, spiritually sound, financially sound, socially you are okay with everybody. I know you can bring up your children. You are all right. Then you can go, because I've seen the traits in you whilst at home. So now my daughter is okay. She can
be
go.
At peace.
Yes.
All right. We're going to take a look at some views from some young people about when they think the right time. Let's take a look.
I'm not financially upright to live alone. If I live alone, I can't support myself financially, and I need some kind of protection from my parents at this moment.
Yeah, I would like to stay alone because I want my freedom to do things, like going out with friends.
Probably when I finish university and I'm financially sound on my own, I can probably leave my parents, yes.
I wish to live alone in future because I need to also establish a family. If I establish a family, I also have to support them, in any ways that maybe will also help to bring the family out.